Hey guys, Mr. Cake here with your first episode and your first lesson in the Pick Cake Cunt Card College. Now this one is going to be how to pick the appropriate deck of cards. Now you OG Piggy fans would know that in the very first episode I showed you how you could grow your own deck of cards. However, for those of you that failed in that endeavor, you're going to have to suck it up and buy a deck of cards from your local card store. Now here's the thing, they don't have card stores, unfortunately, which leads us to the first point, which is, are the cards available in your area? Now unfortunately, most of us don't have the complete access to Magic stores in our nearby proximity where we could go and purchase cards willy-nilly. So we have to resort to stores like Barnes & Nobles, we have to resort to stores like Walgreens, and overseas there are different stores which carry different types of playing cards. Now the best advice that I could give you when first trying to pick a deck of cards for you is to ignore all the reviews and ignore everything that everyone else has said about whatever deck you're particularly interested in, whether that's in a store that you're going to go inside and purchase yourself or whether that's online, because card feel is subjective. What works for me might not work well for you. So you need to find a deck that works the best for you. Something like a plastic deck might be complete shit for somebody else, but for me, it might work precisely as to what I need. Now, it really depends on whether you're going to get playing cards for card flourishing or card tricks. Now, in this particular sort of academy, obviously, I'm going to tailor it more towards card tricks. So you're going to need to get cards that could aid in your tricks better. So they feel good when you do a double lift. They feel good when you're cutting them. But again, what might work for me is not going to work for you. Now, me personally, I'm very prone to just buying decks that are just available in whatever nearby stores. So mostly that's going to be Bicycle for pretty much everyone. That's at least in the United States. Now, they do sell them in the UK, but you're going to have to work with what is in your area. For me personally, it's Bicycle. I see Bicycle everywhere. Oftentimes, I might see Aviator in some specific stores. I might see Studs, which are becoming popular in Walgreens, for example, where they sell these. Walgreens, for those of you guys from the UK, is a convenience store that they sell here. They're starting to produce their own cards. But whatever gets the job done, you want to buy a set, you want to buy some cards, and you want to just feel them, cut them, get to know them, and see if they work well for you. Now, in my experience, cards like these, they have a little bit of a harder stock. Now, the reason for this is because they're printing out so fucking many of these that the stock isn't really going to be designed for performance. Now, the benefit of cheaper cards is that they are available mostly everywhere. Now, the Studs are available in Walgreens, but Bicycle cards are available pretty much mostly everywhere you could purchase cards. So you're going to be able to go in there, you're going to be able to get cards at a cheap rate, and you're going to be able to tear them up, to throw them at walls, and not feel like you have to take care of them, like with, for example, premium decks. Now, again, premium cards like these are the King deck. These do have their advantages and they do have their benefits. However, more often than not, you end up treating them like gold, and you want to keep them in the box, and you want to pretty much defeat the purpose of playing cards, which is using them, right? That's why I'm more inclined towards cards that are cheaper, cards that are more available, and cards that are readily available for performance, which is why I go with Bicycle. Now, more recently, Penguin Magic has come out with a very cheap deck of marked cards. So you can see the Penguin Magic logo down there, the P3s. Now these have a maiden back, and the stock and the finish on these cards are phenomenal. Now again, it really depends on what you are looking for, but the reason I enjoy these cards is because they are less than 10 bucks and they're marked deck. That's a benefit. And the finish on these cards is stupendous. So for tricks, for flourishing, for everything you want to do, these cards are going to work phenomenally, and they're available under 10 bucks. So if you go to penguinmagic.com and you find these cards, just know that at least for me and my personal taste, the stock is stupendous. But again, that's just my subjective feel. If your deck of cards has a particular bonus, like that they're marked, that's obviously going to aid you in certain tricks, especially if it's affordable. Then you really can't go wrong, because you're going to get a deck of cards, you're going to get an added bonus that you could use and aid you with the tricks, and you're not going to be spending a lot, which is why I enjoy this deck. However, for other decks, I don't see anything wrong with Studs. I don't see anything wrong with standard run-of-the-mill playing cards that you find in a store like Bicycle cards. You're really going to have to purchase cards and try them out yourselves, because some people enjoy Bicycle stock, some people enjoy the Tally-Ho stock. So you're really going to have to go out of your way and purchase at least a couple deck of cards to play around with them. Just, feel them around in your hands, dribble them, shuffle them, see if they're hard for you. And if that deck works for you, then that's the deck that you stick with. Don't get into the habit of purchasing cards and not using them. Unless you're collecting them, of course, that's a genre in itself. But if you get playing cards that are very expensive and you just keep them in a box, that defeats the entire point of buying the playing cards to begin with. So you want to find a good middle ground between cards that are good quality and price. You don't want to spend too much on a deck and it's literally just 52 pieces of cardboard. Which brings me again to the point of purchasing playing cards that are very expensive. You don't really necessarily need cards that are super expensive if you want to be performing Magic and you want to start. You want to just get a deck, you want to see if it feels good for you, and you want to just start. You don't want to worry about particular card backs. You don't want to worry about whether or not that deck is in style that week because, that changes apparently in the Magic community on a weekly basis. So you just want to be able to perform, which is why I just recommend getting whatever it is that's nearby in your area. Usually it's going to be good if it has an air cushion finish, and you're going to be good to go. So that's kind of my tips on picking your first deck of cards. Again, it's going to depend on what you're looking for. It's going to depend on what you consider to be hard stock and what you consider to be a softer stock. But there's no better way to figure that out than by purchasing cards and trying it out yourself. But again, you can't go wrong with a standard deck of bikes. I hope you guys got a little bit out of that, and I hope you enjoyed your first lesson in the Pig Cake Cunt Card Academy.